after having the previous knowledge of reflection and refraction, now we are going to discuss our first specific particular topic, the refraction through a compound slab. So for this topic, we people should know that what is a compound slab. The compound slab is a rectangular bounded media in which there are more than one medium. For example, there are two medium other than air. This is the water and this is the glass. Outside this compound slab there is air. Now let's have light ray which first of all incidents on the interface between the air and the water. When it falls on the interface, this ray, say AB, just bends towards the normal. As the water is denser medium than the air, let the incidence angle be I and refracted angle be R1. Now, when this ray BC goes forward and falls on the interface between the water and the glass surface, then we can say that there is a normal again, and this ray BC bends towards the normal again as the glass is more denser medium than the water. So here the light ray bends towards the normal. Now we come to know that this angle was R1, and by the geometry we can see that this angle should also equal to the value R1, because the normals say it is N1 and it is N2. These two normals are parallel because these surfaces are also parallel to each other. Thus this BC behaves like a transversal, and the two angles here, this angle N1 dash BC and N2 CB, both are equal as they are alternate interior angles. Now when the ray BC bends towards the normal when entering into the glass medium, then we can say that this angle is a value having, we can name it R2. Now this CD ray when falls on the interface between the glass and the air medium, then it suffers through the third refraction, and as air is a rarer medium than the glass, this ray bends away from the normal. What we observe here is that this angle should be again equivalent to R2, as the reason has been discussed earlier. Now we should see and examine its geometry. As we know that the refraction is followed by Snell's law. Snell's law says that sine of angle of incidence when compared with the sine of angle of refraction, then for a particular set of medium, this value always remains a constant, which is said to be refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1. Now we want to have the relationship between the refractive index, in fact relative refractive index of water with respect to air, of glass with respect to water, and of glass with respect to air. So for getting a common relation between the three, let's start with the incident ray AB. When it falls on the interface and just refracts, we can say that at the first interface here we can apply the Snell's law, and by Snell's law we can write sine of angle I to the sine of angle R1 should be equal to refractive index of water with respect to air. This is the equation 1. At second interface, we get, applying the Snell's law, that sine of R1 to the sine of R2, when the ratio is taken, it should be equal to the constant, which is the refractive index of glass with respect to water. Now, this equation can be numbered 2. Here we can see that for the second interface, R1 was the incident angle and R2 was the refracted angle. Now, at the third interface, when the ray CD falls on the interface between the glass and the air media, we can apply the Snell's law again, and here the angle of incidence can be taken R2, and let the ray which emerges out of the glass medium, say it is DE, when it emerges out, then we can say that this angle of emergence is E. Sine R2 is the incidence angle for the third interface, and sine of emergent angle E, which is the angle of refraction for the third interface, and this ratio according to Snell's law should be equal to refractive index of air with respect to glass. Now, this equation may be numbered with 3. Let's compare the 3 equations together and then get a particular relation between the relative refractive index of water, glass. Now, from the equation 1, equation 2 and equation 3, let's multiply the LHS and RHS of the 3 equations together. We'll get sine of I upon sine of R1 into sine of R1 upon sine of R2 into sine of R2 upon sine of E. This value should be equal to refractive index of water with respect to air into refractive index of glass with respect to water and refractive index of air with respect to glass. Now, if we see the LHS of the equation, we'll find out that this value adjusts with this value and sine R2 adjusts with the sine R2 in the numerator, and when we compare the geometry, we find out that angle I is equivalent to angle E, that is, angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence. Now, as these two angles are equal, thus their ratio should also be equal to 1. So here we get from the above equation that refractive index of water with respect to air into refractive index of glass with respect to water should be equals to 1 upon refractive index of air with respect to glass. Now, as we know that refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1 is always equivalent to reciprocal of refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2. So applying this information here, we can write this above equation as, in fact we can rearrange the above equation as refractive index of glass with respect to water is equal to absolute refractive index of glass upon absolute refractive index of water. So for the compound slab, we can have this relationship which says that the relative refractive index of glass with respect to water or any medium 2 with respect to 1 is equivalent to the ratio of the absolute refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1. So here it is the relationship which we are getting for the compound slab. Now let's have the another topic for today. It is the refraction studied for the glass slab. Here the glass slab is again a cuboidal bounded surface, and here it is made up of the glass. We want to know that how the light ray will behave when it goes through a glass slab. When light ray AB falls on the interface between the glass and the air, then as you know, the glass medium is denser than the air medium. That's why this AB ray goes under the refraction, and due to the refraction this ray bend towards the normal. Say it is BC. Now for the first interface, this is the first interface and this is the second one. At this interface the angle of incidence is I, and this angle is equivalent to the angle of refraction, and we are naming this angle as small r. Now this is the first normal for the interface 1, N1, N1 dash, and when the ray BC falls on the second interface, it should get support through the second refraction. For the second refraction we have a normal, say N2, N2 dash, and the ray which comes at the second interface, it goes on that it bends away from the normal. So the ray CD, after going under the refraction, it bends away from the normal when it again enters into the air from the glass, as the air is rarer medium than the glass. So here the emergent ray which emerges out from the glass slab, we say that this angle of emergence is E. Now again, when we are having the refraction at interface 1 and interface 2, then the Snell's law should be obeyed by the two processes. At interface 1, by Snell's law, we can write the ratio of sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction. This value should be equal to the refractive index of glass with respect to air, and that is the equation 1. Now by the geometry we can see that this angle N1 dash BC and N2 CB, that is this angle, should be the same value because of being the alternate interior angles between the two parallel lines, which is N1 N1 dash and N2 N2 dash. BC behaves like a transversal, and that's why these two angles are the angles, alternate interior angles, and that's why should be the same value. So here at the interface 2, by the application of Snell's law again, we can have that the sine of angle of refraction for the first interface, this value is the angle of incidence for the second interface. So the ratio of sine of angle of incidence for the second interface to the sine of angle of emergence should be equal to refractive index of air with respect to glass. Now equation 2 it is, and here we can see that we have written here refractive index of glass with respect to air, because the second medium for the first interface is glass while the first one is air. But for the second medium, this pair exchanges its position and the air is the second medium while glass is the first one. So from equation 1 and 2 we write here that sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction for the first medium multiplied by the sine of angle of R to the sine of angle of E should be equivalent to refractive index of glass with respect to air to the refractive index of air with respect to glass. As this product should be equal to 1, that's why here having these two values get adjusted with each other. So we find out that angle I should be equal to angle E, as this ratio can be equivalent only when the sine of angle of incidence should be equal to sine of angle of emergence, and that's why we get the result that angle of incidence remains equal to the angle of incidence. Get the result that angle of incidence remains equal to the angle of emergence. And because of mathematically derived this result, we can see that the angle of incidence, when it is equivalent to angle of emergence, then the incident ray remains parallel to the emergent ray. We can deal with some important concept over here. So let's see, if this glass slab was not here, then this ray AB should move in this particular direction, which can be its original incident direction. Now, because of the same values of angle I and angle E, we come to know that these two directions, one is the original direction of the incident ray and the other one is emergent ray's direction. These two are parallel from each other, and this shortest distance between these two parallel lines is said to be lateral shift. Yes, this shortest distance between these two parallel lines is said to be lateral shift or the lateral displacement. Can we have the numerical or mathematical formula for this lateral shift? The answer is yes, and it is our next step in the topic refraction through the glass slab. Yes, for getting the mathematical formula for lateral shift, we are going through the diagram, this diagram once again, and for getting the value of lateral shift, we have extrapolated a line from C to D. Now we will deal the two triangles, and both triangles are the right angle triangles. One is BDC and one is BCN1 dash. So let's deal the first triangle, which is B, D and C. You can see here that this angle of incidence is sharing a vertically opposite angle with this angle N1 dash BD. Now if this whole angle should be equal to I and this particular angle of refraction is R, then the remaining angle, which is the angle DBC, should be equal to the difference between the two, that is I minus R. Now we can say that in triangle BDC, which is a right angled triangle, sine of angle I minus R should have the value in terms of the perpendicular and the hypotenuse. It should be equivalent to CD upon BC, where CD is the perpendicular and BC is the hypotenuse. Now we can see that this CD is the lateral shift and we have to find out this value. So let's say it is S. Now we can write this value as S upon BC. Let this is the equation 1. Now in triangle C and 1 dash, the angle R, if we take the cos of this angle R, say cos R, then this value should be equals to base upon the hypotenuse. Here the base is B and 1 dash and the hypotenuse is BC. Then we can write it B and 1 dash upon BC. Or we can get the value of BC by rearranging the above equation, and it should be equivalent to B and 1 dash upon cos of R. Let this equation we name it 2. Equation 1 and 2. We can put the value of BC from equation 2 in equation 1, and we can write it as sine of I minus R is equivalent to S upon BC, where BC is B n1 dash upon cos of R. But we are interested in the value of S. So let's rearrange this equation and should write S is equals to B n 1 dash into sine of I minus R upon cos of R. Now, if we see this diagram, then B and 1 dash, this value is equivalent to the thickness of the glass slab. If we write this thickness as T, then in this equation we can write that the lateral shift S. So this is the final equation for the lateral shift, and we can see that if this lateral shift can have the maximum value, then it should be equivalent to the thickness of the glass slab T, when the sine of I minus R is equal to 1 and cos of R is also equal to 1.